Okay. Well, thanks everyone for participating. Let's see, it's 7:33, so we'll start the meeting now. First of all, everyone, I hope, got the minutes which Duncan produced so punctually. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
Thank you. A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Excellent. I think we haven't received any communications to the board this month. The presentation we want to kick off with is on social marketing from Neil. Neil's been doing a fair amount of work with the committee over the past few months and has got a presentation to share with us. Are you set up, Neil?
You're muted.
That's why he was doing sign language.
I was trying. Just hang on one moment and I will pull it up for us.
Sorry, dumb question. Is Neil presenting as a member of the EDC or as a guest?
Yeah, as an advisor to the committee. If you recall, we asked him last week to give us his thoughts, last month to give us his thoughts on social marketing. He has prepared a presentation which he's going to share with us.
Right.
My computer's running
Whoops.
Okay.
tad slow. Just give me one sec. Here we go. Great. So here's the presentation. It's about maybe 10 or more slides. And it's really focused on social media for now. And I've been working with a bunch of folks, Bianca, thank you, Jane, Mayor, and certainly with Janet as well. And just wanted to give some, initial thoughts to opportunities with social, talk about what we've been doing right now. As you had said, I've been doing some social work since mid-December and would love to continue to just evolve this with everybody's input. So, one of the things that I loved, Bianca, was actually this quote as I was just reading around from, existing documents over the years. And I thought this, summed up the need for marketing more than anything, right? This, with more awareness of business opportunities in town, more awareness of resources, we can create job opportunities for others and create a vibrant and viable economy in Cornwall. And the reason why I love this is it speaks so much to what I do in my everyday, which is running marketing for Philadelphia. And one of the things that I always say at the end of the day, even beyond our mission, what we do is about stimulating the local economy and job creation. So that's why I love this quote so much, because it's so much about jobs. So what I have been talking to a bunch of folks about are sort of key objectives from a marketing point of view. And again, there might be more. This is not meant in any way to be a complete presentation, but the beginning of a conversation. But certainly, from my point of view, I think one of the clear objectives is to build the image of our town, to increase day trippers, increase the amount of weekenders, increase remote workers, and certainly new residents, which I've heard a lot of over the past couple of months. The second objective is really to promote local businesses. There are so many businesses. Bianca, Janet, Mayor, and I and others put together a list of local businesses since our last meeting. I think there's 140 or 150. There's probably many more that we've missed, but how do we promote those local businesses? Certainly retail, restaurants, farm stands, farming, lodging, Airbnbs, all of these things connect back to the first marketing objective, right? Again, to help people come here to live or come here to visit. The third objective from a marketing point of view, I think this one is so important, and this is what I've heard the most about, is celebrating civic pride. There is an amazing community in Cornwall, and so many people have sent me messages through the Explore Cornwall Instagram, through Facebook, individual emails, and the majority of them have been about celebrating our people. And it's not, it's all the people. I think Bianca said, let's celebrate the bank teller, and let's celebrate the farmer, and let's celebrate, those everyday people. And I think that is one of the most important things that we can do. And I definitely need help in doing that. So asterisk that one. And then the fourth is creating new news. And this is something that I always contend with in Philadelphia. That's how we get more people to come visit, and more people to stay and spend money, and more people to actually move here, is by seeing this vibrant town change with different events, new businesses, new attractions, new reasons to visit and reasons to stay. So landed on these four objectives, and starting off, coming off of the first objective, is really understanding, if we want to raise the image of our town, what is it? And these are thought starters, and definitely please, let's have discussion or send me more. But there's certainly this authentic country life and country escape is a truth about this place. The greenest town in Connecticut, it's on cornwall.org right now. The home of the covered bridge, one of the most iconic sites that we have in town. It's a natural rural community with farms and forest land and wildlife corridors. It's unpretentious, uncrowded, unspoiled, right? We're not the Hamptons of the Northeast. We are a different type of community. It is certainly a hidden gem, and it's very much a vibrant community for arts and culture. Gordon was talking about music at our last meeting, architecture, history, and again, probably so many more, but this is certainly a beginning. And there's a lot of things that happen here, from Music Mountain, which I know is in Falls Village, but is certainly a reason to come stay here, to come, interact in our community. The Rose Allgrant Art Show, the Ag Fair, the Country Mutt Show, the Clayway tours, the 12 Days of Christmas. There's so many things. And at our last meeting, we even talked about how do we identify the gaps for some annual events, and even the potential of adding an event in summer. So just wanted to lay down what the annual events are right now, so we could all talk about what opportunities there might be. And then there are just, events that don't reoccur every year that also give people a reason to come here and to visit. So what I did from just a social media approach is to think about how we could use our own channels. Those are the channels we don't pay for. That's our website, that's our Instagram stories, our Facebook. And that's what these icons are. If you go to the middle row, that first icon on the left is Instagram. The middle icon, that's a circle, is Instagram stories. The third icon, as you likely know, is Facebook. And we thought about what are the objectives that we can achieve with social, and then how can we line those up with an approach. So the first objective, growing the image and promoting businesses and celebrating civic pride, right? That marketing goal is really just about awareness, letting people know what's there. And Instagram stories and Facebook are a really great channel to do that, to raise awareness. Think about your Instagram, you're just, skimming through, and you get to see a visual picture of what the town and the community is all about. And the approach that we've been taking so far is creating this sense of fear of missing out, right? Sharing, share-worthy content, highlights of the community, people having a great time skiing at Magic Mountain, dogs jumping up in the air, folks on their farm, or maybe their animals that are like adorable and, like make you think about what's happening in this community. And then marrying those with really relevant hashtags. And, those hashtags organize different things so that folks can search through a hashtag. You might want to search for, art. And it gives an opportunity then for our posts to pop up when somebody's searching art. And they might see things all across the world, all different places, but it gives people an opportunity then to really see our work and dive into that and potentially grow our followers. And you'll see at the end of this presentation, we've really seen followers grow. I think when we started, we were at 1,189. Now we're, I think, at 1,400, maybe 1,440. And the hashtags really help with that. And the key performance indicators, like to make sure that we're delivering, are the number of followers, the number of likes that we're getting, the number of people that are sharing our content. The second thing on social is how can we turn locals and visitors into advocates, right? How can we create some engagement with our content, see people share? Bianca is a great advocate. I always see on Facebook, we can see how many people share. And by her sharing what we post from explorecornwall.com, right, then brings that content to a whole new group of people, which is all the people that follow Bianca on Facebook. So that's the type of engagement that we're looking for from locals. And a way that we can help do that is to ask questions and tell stories in the posts, repost from other high profile follower accounts, creating a link tree, which I'll show you to help connect people. And the way that we can see that that's working is the likes, the comments, the mentions, and again, the sharing. And we've really been seeing that. And the last objective is how can we drive some leads, to the hotels, drive some leads to the Airbnbs, drive leads to the businesses, to help really get conversion, get people to come here. And the website is a great place to do that, but we got to bring people to the website, and the link tree is a way that we're able to do that. Posting on Facebook is a way to do that. And the approach there is to not only keep the web content really fresh, which it has been, but to be posting sales and promotions. You could even do direct mail. I was just working with the folks at Hurlburt Farm, I think is how you say it. They had a great promotion on ground beef, right? So we took that, we posted it in stories, but also on Facebook, so people can see what's happening from a sales perspective in the community. And we'll see those KPIs, through the web traffic, through foot traffic, through people really asking about town. And it's also a way that we can really drive awareness and engagement. The way we can do that is by using a lot of video. And for anybody who's been following along on Instagram and the Facebook, there's not a lot of video right now. I don't know if there's some folks that we all know that can do that. It's certainly a time-consuming thing. Maybe we can find an intern to create reels. As we really look at Instagram right now, that platform is moving from static images to something that is more video focused. And those are things that could be used on web as well. So that's an opportunity for us. Utilizing these hashtags that I mentioned really helps us grow followers. We get new followers every single day. Tagging accounts that are mentioned in posts, especially high profile accounts. So there was a question about one of the posts that went up. It was an interior of somebody's house in Cornwall. The designer was Fawn Galley, and someone said, "Oh, why are we highlighting her?" And the reason why was because she has tons of followers. So if she engages with our content, right, then our content gets into the feeds of other folks. And this is exactly like Bianca sharing our posts, right? It lets other people outside of our 1,400 followers see this, and it gives us an opportunity to get more and more people to learn about Cornwall, think about coming to stay or to live. Certainly responding, we need to respond. Community management. And that's something that I've been really focused on, trying to quickly get back to replies, and then certainly engaging with these high follower accounts, which I had mentioned. So the way that the content lays out is against these 6 pillars, trying to be equal in showing the outdoors, which is something that is such a great truth and unique point of view about our town, the amazing arts and culture we have, the community, the people that make up our town, the architecture, and certainly real estate, as we want to encourage more people to come move here, shopping opportunities to support retail, food opportunities to support those, and agriculture. And this is not an exhaustive list, but just to give you a sense of what it all means, right? As we're trying to think of developing content for the outdoors, it's about showing Mohawk Mountain and hiking trails and biking trails and fishing, right? Arts and culture is about showing, work of the people that are living here, that are sculpting and writing and painting. The community is highlighting artists, highlighting folks' local itineraries. We've been trying hard to say to people, like, what do you love to do on the weekends? This is an opportunity area. We haven't really been able to realize this yet. Certainly the lodging and interiors of homes. Somebody once told me New Englanders love to show off their homes, and I can certainly see when I post some that there's high engagement there. From an architecture and real estate point of view, posting when there's homes for sale, when there's homes for rent, beautiful historic structures, we see a lot of engagement when we post historic homes. Shopping is highlighting shops and highlighting shop owners, and certainly have been doing that since December. Food, we know that we're growing with the new restaurant, got incredible engagement when we posted about RSVP, looking to engage with Frank's, and we've been in communication and even doing some behind the scenes. I know that the Cornwall Bridge Gardens is going to be opening in April. That's down right next door to the bank. There's a lot of work that's been going on there. They'll be selling some food too. That's an opportunity to support that. Everything that's going on at the local. And then from an agriculture point of view, there's so many farms, working farms here, and how can we support those? So again, just a broad sense. And for those who haven't really been seeing the Instagram, this is sort of what it looks like. There's a post every single day. And this is a reflection of those 6 pillars. It's an art and a science. A lot of it is, what content I could find. Jane has been trying really hard to help us get content. Bianca's been sending content. I know that there's been something posted in the Cornwall Chronicle. So, as we get content, we post it, and it'll be nice to get like a more even layout of those 6 pillars. But sometimes I'm a little stuck. And certainly you need to match up with the seasons, right? Like sometimes I get a photo of the owners of the Cornwall market, but they're in shorts and, in the green field, and that doesn't get that much engagement in the middle of winter. So those are things that just trying to contend with from a content point of view. And then something I mentioned earlier is this link tree. And this is something that's new. At the top of our Instagram, there's a little summary of Cornwall. And at the end of that summary, there's a link. And if you hit that link, all of the photos that we're posted, the ones that have a business behind them or a person's website behind them, you can actually click that photo for details, and it will take you directly to that business. And what I love about this is that we're able to send referrals to local businesses, whether they be retail, food, architects, painters, anything that's there. So the link tree is a really nice way to help support local businesses. And as I was saying, we're really seeing some fantastic results so far. Our accounts reached compared to, and this was the last time I pulled this, compared to October 31st to December 12th of last year versus that same time period this year. We've seen our accounts reached is up over 3,000%. accounts engaged, which means people are liking, they're commenting, they're sharing. That's up almost 12,000%. And we've seen our followers up over 13%. As I said, when I pulled this, it was 1,300 followers. Now we're over at 1,400 followers. And, you know, this is just some of the engagement that you can see with things. You know, early learnings show the covered bridge is always something that has very, very high engagement. Things that are classically Cornwall have really high engagement. Unique modern buildings with known architects have high engagement. Some just like really fun outdoor activities. I love this photo of the woman with the fish. You know, she is 889. Like that, like who doesn't want to experience that joy, right? So those things are getting really, really high engagements, and you can see how things, you know, start to go down. You know, I think some of these like interior shots that don't really mean anything. There's some posts of. There was a great one that I thought it was great the other day. Somebody doing a snow angel. I thought it was going to kill it. It didn't really get that many. And somebody had reached out to me and they said, you know why I think that's true is because there was no sense of place, right? Like it could have been anywhere. You know, if it was a wider shot and it showed Mohawk Mountain, maybe it would have engaged better. So again, it's an art and a science, and we're learning as we go. But it's certainly shown some really, really great results so far. And I think that might be the end of where I'm at. It is. So happy to answer any questions, you know, tell you any more about what we've been doing. But it's certainly been a team effort in trying to engage and use our social platforms to help engage the community and potential visitors.
Well, thank you, Neil. That was a very professional presentation. I think I learned a lot from it. Sorry, Bill, you've got your hand up.
I was wondering if you are doing anything with TikTok.
The reason why I'm not doing anything right now is because it's very video based.
Right.
We don't have that much video. And that is a really big opportunity for us. And I think I was saying to Janet or Mayor, you know, I'm sure there are people in our community that are, you know, video creators. Maybe some of you are, I don't know. But if we can get more video, a library of that, you know, I'd love to try out TikTok and see how that works for us.
I mean, I was thinking about, I noticed you had the one picture there, the woman with the fish, right? That comes from the, we have a resident Orvis fishing guide in town, right? That's from his page, I think, right?
Yeah.
You know, I was wondering if, do you think it would be interesting to have somebody who does sort of like a different fly tie every day or every couple of days? Fly tying seems to be a pretty popular thing on TikTok.
Yeah.
For those who aren't familiar, well, I have to tell you, I spent a fair amount of time sort of absorbing TikTok content. And I think that what's nice about it is that it gives you a fresh audience, right? Because you never know, it's a very randomized feed based on interest. So there's a chance to sort of break out of the traditional, you don't have to search for anything, right? I just sort of flip through. If I like one fly tying guy, there's a good chance I'm going to see anybody else who's fly tying, you know, as it sort of sifts through my feed. But I'll sort of, if you think that's sort of on the right sort of trajectory, I'll see if I can find somebody to do that, you know.
That would be amazing. The way that I would do it is create a little library of things so that we have runway and then launch.
There's also a few, I know there's a photographer named John Gruen. I suspect some of you know him already, but I know he does a lot of architecture photography. And I wonder if, are any of those photos John's?
I don't think so.
Okay. because, maybe we can sort of chat with him a little bit and see if we can't get him posting regularly.
What's his last name?
John Gruen. I
Gruen?
think I think he has strong ties to Cornwall. He might be in Falls Village, but he does a lot of Cornwall house photography.
Okay, I'll look him up and
Yeah.
great.
I'll give you his number.
Thank
And
you.
of course, we've got Richard, who's been videoing events at Cornwall for a very long time.
Yeah. Laszlo does great photographs, as we know.
Yeah,
But I think that what's interesting is that you mentioned the kind of buckets, and the sort of architecture bucket is, again, it's something that if I'm interested in architecture and modern architecture or architecture in rural environments, as my feed gives me things, there's a chance that I land on a bunch of Cornwall places if there happens to be a good, purveyor of that imagery.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one question. It's Jane here. And it's a sort of strategic thing, which obviously you've thought a whole lot more about and know more about, but I do follow Instagram and use it in my own business. And the question I have is about posting more than one story a day, because if people are sort of following the Explore Cornwall and they've seen that one story for that day, they may, I'm just putting it out there, is it too much to have multiple stories all in one day? Because eventually you start missing them all. Nobody's going to look at that many. So I just wonder what the sort of optimum amount of stories, like I could see posting a post every 2 or 3 days or something, and then one story every day. But I'm just putting it out there as a question, what's the optimum amount of stories? At which point, above which people just say, oh, I've seen that, I'm not going to wait through all of that again.
Right. So the optimum is about 3 to 5 stories. What a lot of people do is they click through to see like your next story. So the idea is to have multiple stories so that when they click, they don't go to the next person, but they stay with you. So 3 stories is sort of the optimum. 5 if it's really relevant. But I agree with you, once you get to too many, right, then you see the engagement go down on the stories. What I've been seeing at 3 to 5 is about 150 people per story will watch. And once we get over the threshold of 5, it starts going down to like the 80s and the 90s. So, I think it's different for every feed. But what I found is if we post one story, it's also about, 130, 150. So if we can post 3 to 5, we've just expanded our audiences because it's not the same people that are watching the stories.
It's not the same 150.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Thank you. Gary and then Oscar.
2 questions, Neil. I think this is great, very inspiring. Do you have access to demographic information about the followers, and especially the newer followers? And then the corollary second question is, what other towns in the Northwest region are doing something similar or undertaking this? Where are they in in their initiatives?
Yeah. So our followers are, I think, if I'm trying to pull it up, but it's there's about 15% that is from Cornwall, about 14% from New York, and then you start seeing it break up to be even smaller. Here are my insights right now, let me see here. I'm trying to just find what the smaller breakdown is of folks and where they're from. But I can certainly reply back and get you that information. But again, it's New York and Cornwall are the highest groups of followers. It's pretty split between men and women with a little bit of a focus towards women. And then in the age groups, I'd say like between 30 and 50. Again, I can get the numbers, but like there's not that much of a spread difference. And that seems to be the core demographic right there.
Okay, great, thank you. Are other towns in this region pursuing or actually doing this?
Yeah, I see tons. You know, Litchfield is a really big one that I've been following. In New Preston has been doing their Instagram. Thinking about all the others that I'm following. Folks in Millerton, which is close, obviously not in Connecticut, but in New York. I could also send you my list on that. I'm like, you know, I flip through them all the time and I'm like getting them all confused. But we're definitely seeing a lot. And, you know, I think they're trying to find the right balance, but I'd love to get back to you and also tell you what they're seeing in terms of interactions, because as I've been looking, I think we're doing a better job at engaging with our folks than some of the other towns that have been doing this.
Good, thank you.
Oscar?
Thanks. Very helpful, Neil. I think, I mean, I'm going to assume that, you know, based on the presentation, that we're all in agreement that the primary objective is an external tool to attract eyeballs, to attract visitors, to attract commerce, to attract all those things that were highlighted in the presentation. And I think probably the most, as much as I hate the term, I think one of the most relevant terms in the presentation was FOMO. What you're trying to create in this sort of ecosystem, the social media ecosystem, is stuff that people want to see, do, and consume. And one of the fascinating things about, we've all made jokes about it, one of the fascinating things about Cornwall, which is a community of 1,300 people, is I think there's about 30 different Cornwall focused Instagram accounts. I mean, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 30, but there's a lot. And even through that, if you look at Explore Cornwall, which has been great, I mean, it's just taken off, but we don't incorporate the library as much as I can tell. Bill, your comment about fishing, like, I think that the fishing community, you know, we are in the hotbed of Northeastern fishing, and barely a mention of the store, the river, the lodgings, the weekend you could spend in Cornwall fishing 2 days on the Hoosey. There's so many things that we can incorporate. So what is the best, how can we get this stuff to you? What, you know, all these, I know you're getting ideas from Bianca, you're getting ideas from Janet, but I look at Litchfield Magazine, for instance, they have 11,000 followers. We're at 1,400. I constantly forward stuff from our Instagram account to them. Anything to do with Three Guys or the Union or the Local or anything relevant, I try to get on there, and they never pick it up, unfortunately. But how can we give you the ideas and then help maximize the compounding effect of Instagram?
So 2 things. One is, you know, Litchfield Magazine's actually going to do an article on the Forest House, and they reached out because of the piece that we did on this. So I thought that was really good, just trying to connect with them and ultimately connected them with the owners. And, you know, I think any ideas that you guys just email me. It's, you know, neilfrowngless@yahoo, and I know Jane put that out into the Cornwall Chronicle. And funny enough, I almost emailed Jane 2 days ago to say not a single person has emailed me, and I didn't. And then 2 people emailed me in the past day. So it's just starting. But if you
well, I guess I'm thinking more systematically, like how can we, I think one of the things we might contemplate as a committee is helping organize our retailers and our external facing businesses to encourage them to pay some attention to what we're doing.
Got it.
And to have a sort of a turnkey way for them to make sure that what they want, you know, at least they have an opportunity to put it in front of you so it gets out there.
Yes. You know, and that I would, you know, that sort of leads me even to the business list, right? Like, I think somebody mentioned, like, you know, are we a Lights Chamber of Commerce? Right. And like, how do you really build engagement and getting all those businesses together? And, you know, I think that's you know, an open discussion for this committee, but I'd certainly love to get input from all of them. I don't even know how to check the list of businesses that I have, right? Like, how do I even know if it's all the businesses? And then how do you engage how do you engage with them?
Like with Frank's, I think, Frank's, I think it's what I understand is maybe an April opening, whether it's soft or hard, I don't know, but I feel like that's something the entire community should sort of get behind and figure out how we put it out in the
Mhm.
blogosphere and the.
Absolutely.
Right. I certainly, one of the things I was thinking was even doing like a small business fair and literally asking every business to, on the village green, like set up a table, and it's sort of like a, speed dating for everybody to come around. And then for all those folks that don't show up, at least you invited them, and hopefully then they'll give us the right contact information so you can start growing a list. And maybe it's a monthly newsletter about what it is that we're doing, who we're highlighting, how we're supporting. I find that grows. That's certainly what we do here in Philadelphia. It's like you send it out to a small list, and other people want to start engaging as it goes on. A monthly newsletter might be the way to go.
Okay. Well, thank you, Neil. That is really terrific. We need to move on, but that was really very helpful. I think the next topic, Bianca, you've got some expenses to submit to the committee.
Well, yeah, just for those two adhesive posters for the outside of the two town kiosks. I don't have, I have the text, but I don't have images yet from the Historical Society because they have to send me the files. And then I can put the whole thing together. And the total amount for the two posters printed at Giordano is $344.58. And
that's printed on plastic.
yes, it's outdoor material so that they last for a long time, so that there is something more for visitors to learn to relate to. And also we can have reference to the Historical Society on there, to the EDC. And again, maybe, they explore Cornwall, so that we raise awareness even on a platform like that.
Okay, Gary, you had a comment?
Yeah, Bianca, question, is this something that can also be put in Cornwall Village? Since that has the farmer's market Saturday morning as well as West Cornwall
I think
with
there
the
is
huge foot traffic.
right. I think there is actually in front of town hall, there is I think a historical description. This would be just something for the two existing kiosks that had been put up many years ago, that we put also the two Visit Cornwall posters into. Recently, there's one down in Cornwall Bridge and one by the covered bridge.
Yeah, I'm thinking it for the Cornwall Village,
Right.
if it has information that is going to motivate someone to go beyond Cornwall Village into West Cornwall. It's like, oh, there's businesses here, there's the covered bridge.
Well, it doesn't have that content. It's a historical content. It's a bit,
Oh, it is.
It's a brief history of Cornwall. I think what we have are the brochures everywhere, the Visit Cornwall brochures. And they should be out at the farm market. I have still a carton of those. Anyone who wants them can pick them up, or I'll bring them by, no problem. But I think those are the items that, get people around to go to Cornwall Bridge or West Cornwall.
Is there any way that we can put a little more information on, like, visit Cornwall Bridge to see this, West Cornwall to see that, Cornwall Village to see X?
Yeah, if you can get me what you would like to have put on there.
I'm gonna suggest even a larger theme, and I think this goes with what Neil and Oscar, you and Bill, you were intoning, is something within our town should be the center. I always call it the center of the hourglass. And if it's the Explore Cornwall site or the Instagram, that much of whatever we do drives people to that location, which could be the tree links, because it's not go to the kiosk, see some information. It's like, oh, I can go down to West Cornwall and see the bridge. It's I can go from this marker and go to Explore Cornwall or Instagram, and it opens up much more.
Mhm.
You know, the idea of something printed as the be all and end all was outdated.
If your
Are you-
soul works.
Are you thinking of sort of, because this is a sign that's going up.
This is
That
just something,
for-
an explanation, as a short history of the town of Cornwall.
And
Not,
it
it goes
goes-
on the outside of the kiosks, because that's just a plain nothing space right now.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
And so I wonder if, to sort of to Gary's point, you know, sometimes they have those little codes where you can put your
Right.
camera on it, and then
Yeah.
it brings up a, you know, it you know,
That would be
automatically
great.
jumps you to the Instagram page or something.
Yeah.
I that might be sort of what Gary is sort of talking
Yeah,
about, instead of
I'll bounce
trying
it back to Neil.
incorporating a bunch of extra copy,
Exactly.
you know, but maybe there's something that's a quick link at the bottom of that historic society copies.
I think a QR code would be great, and
The
everybody
website,
using
probably
that.
to the website, right? Because
And
Yeah, website.
website. And what I'll have for you at the next meeting is an update to the Explore Cornwall website with content for all of these things. I do think that would be a good hub, just a place that separates, you know, all of the local civic community things from just things that for visitors, you know, whether it's
Right.
days or whatever. I can share that next, and you know, you could have that website, and then also your, you know, maybe the TikTok and the Instagram and the QR code.
Thank you. Do cell phones work at these locations?
Yes,
Both locations?
yes. Because
Okay.
both locations are optimum Wi-Fi hotspots.
Okay.
In order to move things along sort of quickly, adding a QR code or changing the copy is not going to affect the price, right? So we can still
No,
go-
I don't even have I don't even have it put together, but how do I
Right.
get a QR code? If you can get me a QR code that I can put on there, I'll just put it right on there. It's no
Yep.
problem.
I could do it.
But I like that idea. Actually, I had asked the Susan at the Historical Society if they had such a thing, and she could not supply me with anything like that. So I'll just put the website address on there.
Just one question. If we're going to do this, should we be putting the Explore Cornwall website or the Cornwall, the
We
other
could-
website? Because it might be a little, I mean, they're a little different.
Are
or
they?
become more different? Well,
I
I think
think-
that's what Neil was just saying, I think, is that the Explore Cornwall website could be targeted more specifically to visitors, and the Civic stuff more. Did I get that right, Neil? That's what you were suggesting, that you would.
That's exactly right.
But are there two websites, two separate websites? I don't think so. I think it got integrated into the Cornwall website, all of that content.
I
Well,
think
it
it
can-
exists separately, but there's a link, right?
They do still exist separately, and they're certainly linked to each other. And
Mhm.
and it's really a best practice for, you know, from a small town to a big city, to have your sort of civic site as your, you know, your .org, and then your visitor site is your .com. So, you know, that's exactly what, you know, what we do in Philly. We have a .org. Sorry, my cat's all over me. You know, we have a .org site, which is the civic site, and then we really have Visit Philadelphia. You know, or most places are Visit Baltimore, Visit Philly, or literally Explore, you know.
So it seems like it should link up directly to the visitor portion of the site or the visitor's site. Because if I'm sort of walking around and I see some historic sign, like, oh, this is interesting. Like, my next question is not like, who's the selectman, right? Like, I don't need, right? So it's more sort of like, what else is here in town kind of thing, right?
That's what I'm saying, is that the QR code should go to the Explore Cornwall site, probably.
Can I suggest, Bianca, you distribute the the text. Would you be able to do that by the next meeting? Because I think there are a
Yes.
lot of people with views on that.
Mhm.
But
Sorry,
it sounds
is
like
this-
you've got a direction.
Yeah, Bianca, is this a motion to approve an expenditure here? or
Yes.
what? So let's get
Basically.
back to that, please.
Yeah, I'm certainly in favor of that.
I'd motion to, I don't know, whatever the process is. I think it's a good idea. I would motion for it.
I'll second it.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Nope, good. You've got the authority. So distribute a draft to the next meeting before you actually get it printed up.
Oh, yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
that good?
definitely. No, I would not.
All right.
Just to dial back for a second, are we conceptually agreeing as a committee that there is a center of an hourglass concept as we go forward, that things should filter through that as we undertake initiatives?
I don't quite know what that means.
I think of it as, for simplicity here, either the Instagram account or the Explore Cornwall, whenever we're doing something, there's a tag that sends someone to another place, but it's not one place. It's actually a place that opens all the doors and all the information.
Mhm. I would
Neil,
make-
your thoughts?
I would make that your website. That's your product, right?
Well,
Like
Cornwall.
you don't own, like you don't own any of this. All the business owners own the businesses and the Airbnbs. What the thing that we own is that website that can connect you to everything, like you're saying, open
Right.
the door to everything.
Okay, so we'll go with Explore Cornwall.
And the website, Neil, that you're referring to is which website?
That's the explorecornwall.com site. That's the visitor focused site. Mhm.
That's, I assume that's what you were saying, but I just want that for clarification.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Good. And that actually leads us into the next point. And I think, Bianca, you did some work on this, but the EDC pages on the town website are extraordinarily difficult to follow, as we discussed at the last meeting. How do we get those cleaned up? I'm not sure I know the answer. For example, trying to find minutes, you've got to understand the code at the bottom pretty much.
Right. I think we have to speak with Rocco about that. I believe there's another website committee meeting at, I think in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. They just had one this past Sunday. So I think every last Sunday of the month, they have a website committee meeting now. And we can speak to it then, I would imagine.
Do we have a
Yeah,
list
Jen.
of stuff?
Sorry, Jane had her hand up.
I spoke a little bit to Kara, who's on that committee, and I just outlined to her that I think it's 6 clicks and several scrolls. And before you actually can get to the minutes, and then the thing that you click on for the minutes is almost invisible. So what I was suggesting to them, and I think they're very aware of it, was that once you've clicked on the meetings, minutes and meetings, that you don't need any more pictures. People who are looking for minutes and meetings, all they really want is a list in order of the
Index.
minutes and the meetings on a clickable link that looks like a clickable link. So he at least is aware of that and said that, I think they are working on it. I think definitely it should be followed up on to make sure it actually happens. But she seemed quite aware. She doesn't have the authority to just change it, but she's very aware, and she does work with them on the design of it. So she was aware of that. And she also, this is a little bit off topic, but we'll have the meetings in the printed chronicle from now on.
Good. Thank you. That was the next point.
So who-
Gary, you
who's-
wanted to say
sorry.
something?
Who's going to follow up with the website committee?
Duncan was.
Who's going to follow up with the website committee?
I'm happy to do it if we need someone.
Good.
Be great. Thank you. But you've got the answers to a lot of this. Super. Is Gordon joining us? Is Gordon on?
No.
Priscilla,
Oscar?
Priscilla,
I'm here.
do
Yeah.
you have anything to report on the real estate market?
Interest. We just had a new listing on Warren Hill Road in Cornwall. It's the first listing. We only have 8 houses for sale in Cornwall. 3 are under $1 million. This was the only one that was under $500,000 at $495. 22 showings in 3 days and 2 offers, full price, have been forwarded to the person in charge. I'm waiting for a response. It
Wow.
has been crazy. It is not like, I mean, this is true for all the Northwest towns. We just don't have much. That's what I call affordable for the real people.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Janet, are you still on?
I am.
Terrific.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry, as the
So-
official liaison to the board, what do you have for us?
So, I've really been focusing on healthcare. And like that's my strong point. I did speak with Bart. We did a drive-by, walk-along kind of talk. He is actually leasing part of his space 2 days a week, I believe. I think it's starting in March, and there'll be physical therapy in the Cornwall Conservation Trust building. I don't know how many of you tuned into the fabulous Board of Selectmen meeting last week. If you didn't have something you were watching on reruns or watching paint dry, maybe you tuned in. But we talked about healthcare at that meeting. I had invited she's the CEO of Community Health and Wellness, Joanne Borduas, who's absolutely amazing. They have a mobile unit that actually you have to coordinate with her, but you can have it brought to your town. So that provides, it's mobile primary care is basically what it is. We're also in negotiations with an advanced practice registered nurse who runs a mobile unit who would do home visits in Cornwall if people needed. She covers Medicare, Medicaid, and private pay. So whatever category you fall in, she would be able to help. She would also do a day in Cornwall and potentially some time in Cornwall Bridge. So we might start off by doing half and half, but she would be able to do COVID testing, any kind of vaccinations, wellness checkups. If you're ill and just don't want to schlep to the doctor, we could provide either mobile or on-site visits. So there's a lot of stuff happening on the healthcare forefront. I will come back to the EDC once we have something solid. Everything's looking to pretty much start in March, which I think is exciting because there's not been healthcare in Cornwall for 30 years. So the fact that we're not going to have a decent amount, we're also going to look at getting pharmacy services. So, if you do need a prescription, the APRN would be able to provide medication also. The next stop is dental services in Cornwall.
Well, that's
But there's only
fabulous news.
24 hours in a day, so what can I tell you?
Thank you. That's great news.
Sure. Okay, so that's the report from me.
Terrific.
Yep.
Last month, we talked about what our goals were. It seemed to me that we need to link up members of the board with individual goals here. We had 5 broad goals. The 5th one is fairly straightforward. So it's 4 large goals and 1 small goal, I would say. Continuing to execute the Buy Hire local campaign. Janet obviously has been working on that. Is there anyone, any current member of the board who wants to join that and can help support that? Bianca?
Certainly would do that, yeah.
Thank you. That seems natural. Developing free Wi-Fi in Cornwall Village. It was pointed out to us that there is already free Wi-Fi around the library. I think what we were really talking about last month was extending free Wi-Fi to cover the market and a little bit further than just around the library itself. That was certainly my understanding. Does anyone have a different understanding?
There's actually, when you go to optimum Wi-Fi, optimum hotspots, there are many hotspots in Cornwall Village as well as in Cornwall Bridge. And I think Richard Bramley had questioned when we were, talking about expanding free Wi-Fi in Cornwall Bridge, where would you do that? So there are a lot of hotspots in those areas, not only in one location, but in many, emergency Wi-Fi as well. And it so turns out that the library actually had gone ahead and had all the equipment installed already in order to broadcast the signal outside when they were only opened minimally, so that they could facilitate exactly what was needed for the community to have connectivity. I would suggest, since we budgeted the $1,500, to perhaps have the library submit the cost of their equipment to Barbara Herbst, because that was something that was scheduled to be budgeted anyway. Yeah, and go ahead with that. And I don't know what to do about Cornwall Bridge. I mean, it does exist. There is plenty of free Wi-Fi. I mean, when I look at West Cornwall, the free Wi-Fi that I get is Optimum Wi-Fi. The Cornwall free Wi-Fi that is at the Union barely reaches even across to me. The signal is very weak. Optimum certainly is what my devices go to immediately, even sometimes over my own Wi-Fi in my store, which is kind of funny.
So if you have access to to be able to have access to an Optimum Wi-Fi, you need to be an Optimum customer.
Yes.
So free Wi-Fi then is not available to anybody who is not an Optimum customer. If we're talking about the Optimum hotspots, so the free Wi-Fi that's being discussed either in West Cornwall or from the library or wherever else it's going to end up, is not Optimum customer based, I believe.
It seems to me that
anybody in Cornwall is an Optimum customer because Optimum is our provider.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're from somewhere else, you don't have free Wi-Fi because maybe you're with AT&T or whoever else is providing internet service, whoever is your provider.
Sorry, Janet.
So Jaren Havel is coming on Friday. I'm happy to hand this off if somebody else wants to take the baton. He is actually looking to see, because this is intended for people who are visiting from here, not for people who already live here and already have services here. So to Richard's point, it would be somebody who's not already got that service. So is there somebody who I should hand this off to, and I can introduce you to Jaren and you guys can figure out what you want to do?
So the service at the library was actually installed by Jaren Havel. So that's why I believe the library is all set with a free Wi-Fi at this point.
Yeah, I'm on the board of the library, but I did get an inquiry as to whether we could pay the costs of the library's installation. I don't know if we're allowed to do that under the terms of the board. Priscilla or Janet, do you know the answer to that?
I don't.
Well, we haven't budgeted, so I mean, if it's.
I know we haven't budgeted, but it was spent obviously in prior periods. I'm just asking if there's a restriction on what we can spend, if we're allowed to reimburse already incurred expenses.
I think they do have to be incurred already to be expended, so I think that might qualify. I mean, we wouldn't pay.
Well, obviously. Right. Okay. Well.
And I'm still not clear. Does this mean non-Optimum people can get service?
It means they can't get service, as I understand it.
So that's not quite meeting the real need.
Right.
No, what she's saying, no, what he's saying is, if you're an Optimum customer, you're going to see Optimum. If you're not from here, then you're going to see Cornwall free Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make that clarification, Jane. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if I have my phone, and I'm sorry, if I have my phone and I go, across the street from the library, and I go to, and I'm like, oh, there's free Wi-Fi here. I go to that, and what do I see?
You see Cornwall free Wi-Fi.
That's what I see. I click on that, I sign something, and then I'm in.
You don't have to do anything. Once you click
Okay.
on it, it automatically goes. That's the
And the
whole.
same, and that's what we'd be paying for. That's what we'd be reimbursing for.
That's correct, Simon?
Okay, that's
Yeah.
already set up. Okay,
That's
gotcha.
already been spent.
Is it possible that the library needs some kind of additional booster to make the signal larger, stronger, more
Well, that's what Jared
widespread?
is looking at on Friday.
Yeah. Yes, it would. And to get across the road to the where the farmers market is, it does need something.
So maybe before we decide whether we're going to reimburse for expenses already incurred, not that I'm not for doing that, maybe we ought to find out what the possible expenses to improve what's there may be.
Yeah.
Or necessary, even necessary. I mean, I think that would be.
Because the agenda point tonight is simply to decide who on the EDC is going to work on this issue of developing free Wi-Fi,
Correct.
right?
But we're also discussing the fact that there is free Wi-Fi, which I think is fine. I think the biggest problem from my point of view is, does anyone know where the free Wi-Fi is? I mean, it's all very well saying we've got hotspots here, there, and all over the place, but I wasn't aware of it. Would anyone driving through town know that? I didn't think so. Is there a way we can get a map or?
You can just Google the map. You go for optimum hotspots, and it gives you a map. It gives you a map for Verizon. It gives you a map for T-Mobile, for all of those.
But it's not going to have. But Bianca, that's not going to have the free Wi-Fi that we set up on that map.
No.
Right. So I think Simon's point is that maybe it would be good to have some signage so that people realize, oh, free hotspot, free Wi-Fi hotspot in this area. I think
that's a good idea.
So, yeah, I think that's a good thing.
And I suggest we get a story into the Chronicle, so laying it out in some detail as well, because I bet most people in Cornwall don't know.
Yeah.
So who wants to run with that?
I'll do it if
no one else will. I'll step up.
Oh yeah, Gary beat me to it.
Thanks, Gary.
Good one, Bill. Hey, Gary, there's so Jaron is going to be at town hall at noon on Friday. Would you be able to meet with him?
No.
Okay. Why don't you give me a call tomorrow and I can
Okay.
talk to you and Jaron and we can hand that off. Thank you very much, Gary, and Bill for trying to race to the.
I did just slow enough.
I know you get credit,
Yeah, I remember you in second grade.
right?
Prolong the issue, but for clarity's sake, we're solving for the fact that there are dead spots in Cornwall and that people can't get the cell service they want when they want it where they're at. There are mobile providers that provide their subscribers hotspots that they have access to if they are a paying customer of that provider.
Yep.
The free Cornwall Wi-Fi is only available in a certain proximate location to the library. And that signal is pushed out only from the library, nowhere else in the town.
Is it only the library that does that?
It can be the library, can be if town hall has a boost, much like West Cornwall has one location with a booster.
The fixed signal, it's only coming from one place.
And there's nothing in Cornwall Bridge.
So what we're trying to solve for is these dead spots that in other communities would be serviced by regular wireless communications infrastructure, which we don't have. Perhaps what we're supposed to be doing is providing the town and our visitors, how do I get a signal in Cornwall?
Yep.
Rather than trying
That's a much larger discussion, because when you said in Cornwall, that would be theoretically all 41 square miles. The focus here, as it's developed over the last few years, was getting a Wi-Fi hotspot in West Cornwall, Cornwall Village, Cornwall
One
Bridge.
fixed broadcast in each kind of hub in the town.
Mhm. And it only emanates a certain distance.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. That's the piece I was missing. That there's actually that's the real plan, is to have
Yeah.
a robust signal broadcast from a fixed location in the 3 hubs of the town.
For
does
basically a
people-
fixed distance.
Right. That people know is there so they can use it. So we've got to figure out a way of putting that out. Maybe we put it on the website. That may be the best way of doing it.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you, Gary, for picking up on that one. Develop spring and summer events. I think Mayor picked volunteered for that. Bill?
So I've got an event that I can sort of speak to, unless we're gonna, unless it's not the right time to do that.
No, now's exactly the right time.
Okay, so the Iron Bank approached CHLA about doing a tennis tournament, sponsoring a tournament. And in those kind of discussions, it morphed sort of a little bit with sort of my suggestion to become basically a Cornwall town tournament rather than something specifically for the club. And the idea would be something called, I've worked, so this is, the interested parties are Ron Goldstein at Iron Bank. They're looking to spend a little money this year, so they would pick up the tab for any organizational costs and anything we'd have to do in terms of, I don't know, refreshments or whatever it is. And then it would be something called World Team Tennis. And there's another fellow at Iron Bank named Dinesh. He sort of basically runs a tennis club. So it would be, I think it would, their initial thinking is that it would probably be Washington, New Milford, and probably Litchfield, and then Cornwall tennis clubs on a single sort of 4-hour event in July. And the idea would be, the current idea that I was sort of I told them I would sort of bring in front of this board, is that we would do it on, I think July 23rd, they thought would be sort of the sweet date. And we would do that in conjunction with the farmer's market, so that people could sort of go to the farmer's market in the morning. The event would sort of kick off around 11. And we would try to, do something that would entice, spectators as well as players. And have, if we have to sort of cordon off a little bit of the street or go on the, I forget who's got the property on the other side there.
Well,
Somebody there.
this sounds good. If you could coordinate that with Mayor, that would be terrific.
Yeah, so that's sort of, all the interested parties are sort of excited about it. And the sort of thing that's kind of, there's a couple of things that sort of still have to sort of get worked out. One is there a good charity angle where we could sort of do a charity, auction or some kind of process that as well.
I have one question about it.
Yeah, please.
And that is whether is that an EDC thing, or is that better suited to Parks and Rec?
Well, Todd is sort of works with Parks and Rec in doing the clay courts in town. Those are the clay courts that we're thinking that the tournament would be on. So it could certainly be Parks and Rec.
I'm just wondering what the economic angle is.
Well, we were looking for summer events. I think it's nice to sort of coordinate with the farmers market so that there's maybe a little boost for that. And I think what we're going to do is approach some of the people, maybe Sue, to sort of maybe provide like a lunch, have a lunch vend, at the tail end of her, stand there at the farmer's market, maybe extend it a bit. And then also seeing if there can be a spectator draw as well. So with those 4 tennis clubs, there's a lot of sort of like local pride, right? So it's New Milford versus Litchfield versus Connecticut. So I suspect that, it's not going to be the US Open or anything, but I think that people who are enthusiastic about tennis, which there's a fair share of in town, and in these other towns, might, coalesce on that day. It's certainly sort of like a great Saturday afternoon in July.
Sounds fun.
So
And
that's why.
Sorry, and Jane, we did talk about cooperating with Parks and Rec, so I think actually that makes a lot of sense. And it should be a good draw. Gary?
I think, Bill, it's a great idea. You may want to call the Australian Open and you can see if you can get Novak Djokovic. But more than that, more than the humor. Just as an FYI, the Cornwall Association, which did the Cornwall Barnyard Animals project of plywoods all last year, we're doing another one this summer. It's going to be the Cornwall Bears. We learned a lot, but just as an FYI to the EDC, you're going to see plywood cutouts around town again.
That was a great.
What's the timing of that, Gary?
Should be up probably Memorial Day, first week of June, run through September. We may try and do a fundraiser off of it, as we did last year. But we're starting to target it more towards the business areas, the main town centers. So when people come, this again can go, Neil, and the idea of the Instagram, a lot of visibility, a lot of goodwill. I mean, it worked out very well last summer.
How many bears, how many animals did you have last time? I'm just curious.
45.
Okay. Nice.
And all 45 of them were auctioned off.
I've got a car sitting in my porch. Yeah.
So
Okay, moving along. We're running out of time here. Number
just
4. Sorry.
quickly, because Mayor is not here today, she had also thought of other opportunities to have events in Cornwall. So maybe we can have her speak next time, what she was envisioning and incorporating that into some events.
The 4th one was support Board of Selectmen and attracting new business. We broke that down to support the town website. I think we've talked about that already. Create a strategy for the Explore Cornwall social media. Thank you, Neil. We've got a good strategy going there. Purchase the actual advertising, which Neil, you'll be able to help us with that, I hope.
Yep, absolutely.
Terrific. And then develop report of key local economic indicators. Oscar, you said, I got your email obviously about the difficulty of getting some of that data. I was wondering if you can get some more local data, some of the sort of real estate data perhaps from Priscilla and
yeah, I mean, I'm open to ideas. My first go-to was Hartford, and that proved to be a challenge. There's lots of data. It's dated. It's not particularly well organized, and my correspondence with kind of the data masters in Hartford is very unsatisfying. But I was looking at things like sales tax revenue, things like car registrations, just any kind of baseline data that we could create and start using as KPIs that sort of Neil talked about as to this time next year, are the fruits of our labor. So I'm open to ideas about other sources of information and where we might, if people have
building permits would be one idea, and the value of building permits, maybe location of them from the building official. That would certainly be one location.
Yeah, so if please forward them on, because the Connecticut state of Connecticut has a very robust database, and that's it. There's no organization, there's no chronology, there's no.
I'm talking about the Oscar. We're talking about the local building official, the Cornwall building official, whose office is at the Northwest Lumber, and I think that data would be available from the selectman's office too. I think that is also there. Look, you're talking about local information, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
Cornwall only.
Is sales tax data organized by town?
They
Richard?
do, and they break it down even a little bit further into sort of different categories. The problem is it's the most recent is 2018, which may be helpful because, I mean, you know, it's pre-COVID, but you know, we probably wouldn't see 2020 and 2021 data for, you know, another 18 months.
Wow. I know certainly that I'm submitting it monthly.
Glad to
Paying
hear
it
it.
monthly because I'm obligated to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I've tried
surprised.
I've tried to sort of see if there's not someone there that can help me navigate it a little bit better. And I've had one response, and then I responded, and then they went quiet. So admittedly, I probably ought to try to chase them down again. But I'm trying to get a human.
I don't know who you would try and get information like that from.
I think it's there. It's just being persistent and trying to get someone to help me sort through it.
Janet, could you just investigate, see at a high level, just what data is available to the selectmen, which the selectmen would be able to share?
Yes, of course.
You know, economic data about Cornwall relative to the rest
Yeah.
of Connecticut.
Yeah, there's actually oh gosh, Goldman and York provided that data. It was just a couple years ago. We might be able to get updated data. I know those guys. So let me just see what they've got. And then if I can get updated, then I'll provide that.
Thank you very much. Terrific. And otherwise, we should make our recommendations to Oscar. Excellent. And then the last thing was improved connectivity in Cornwall.
All right, Simon, I didn't hear
Yep.
you. Who's volunteered to support the Board of Selectmen attracting new businesses and
No,
residents?
I'm sorry. I went through the list of the subpoints that we
Oh.
laid out under that, and then effectively we've got, and I can get back to you afterwards on that, Duncan, if you like. Is
Okay,
that all right?
sure.
And then the last point was improved connectivity in Cornwall, including cell and fiber. I think we're somewhat in the hands of Optimum there, but I think it's important that at least we know what Optimum is planning to do and when they're planning to do it and how their plans change. And Gary, you're pretty familiar with this, aren't you?
Yeah, there was a recent meeting led by Maria Horn with state representatives. Basically, a lot is in motion and a lot is in flux. So the simple summary I came away with is exactly that. Things are moving, but they don't know quite which way and quite how quickly.
Right.
There's federal issues, there's state issues, there's money issues. So it's basically hurry up and wait.
Okay.
Janet?
So I would certainly encourage this board, and I plan to make a little noise on the selectmen's board that we not just sit and, you know, hope that things work out for the best, because it doesn't usually work out that great. We do have an opportunity with Optimum, but I want to make sure, you know, as a select woman, that it's the highest, best use possible. What they may offer us might be fine, but it might not be what we need for future. Not that we can be, you know, predict perfectly what will be in the future, but we certainly have a pretty good idea of what we're going to need. And we just want to make sure that that they are providing it. Because, I mean, just because they're providing something for free, you know, that's terrific. But I might want to encourage this board to, you know, and you know, maybe even the internet committee to get cooking again, because, you know, if we just wait and see, then we will get the least of what we could possibly get, I fear. That's my
Who
two
is-
cents.
And who is responsible for that within the town hierarchy?
So Gordon is the contact person who's taken that on. But again, you know, like Optimum is reassuring us that you know, they will bring, you know, high speed and fiber, but it's in cabinets that are exposed to weather. You know, the chances of them going the final mile, as they say, down some of these long roads, could lead to, more people being left out than are already left out.
Mhm.
That's the concern.
And the timing is next year still?
No, they're starting, they've already got the permits to place the cabinets, and they've got, correct me if I'm mistaken, Priscilla, but I believe there are 3 that are slated to be in Cornwall.
Correct.
But what does it deliver to us? I guess that's what I want to find out, because they're like, yeah, you're good. You're going to get, you're going to have fiber, but is it fiber to the home? Is it fiber to every home? That's what we want to find out.
Right.
Yeah, Gary, I'll be reaching back out to you. We'll talk about that kind of stuff. All right. I don't want to take too much time.
All right, good. That goes through everything we've got on the agenda. Are there any public comments? Oh, sorry, first of all, are there any other matters that members of the board want to bring up?
I wanted to speak about, I had a comment from a community member in regard to our representation on the Western Connecticut Tourism District.
Yeah.
There's currently no real active participation. And it would be great to have that, because it would feed back to exactly what Neil was talking about, the connectivity, the sharing of information, of Facebook posts, and that's what they are talking about currently too. Marketing, cross-marketing, promoting of the region, of the state. And I would think that maybe someone like Mayor Rubin might be good, because she's got experience with marketing, with branding, and she's also in the connected with the arts. And I had briefly just emailed back and forth with her, and she would be interested in maybe being in that position, because I think we should have someone on the board who is directly connected into that again. And but I think we have to make the recommendation to the selectmen, and I think it's the selectmen who ultimately appoint the person to the board of the Western Connecticut Tourism District.
Priscilla, Janet, are you familiar with this?
I'm not, no.
Okay, but it certainly sounds like something we ought to be involved with.
The recommendation would come from this board, and then the Board of Selectmen would then make an appointment.
Okay. Well, let's have
So I'd like to make a motion.
Investigate it and have a look at what's involved and what they're doing. Who's going to be doing the legwork on that, Bianca?
Pardon me?
Who's going to be doing the legwork on this body? Is that going to be you or Mayor? Or...
Mayor.
Okay. Unfortunately, it's not here. Okay, good point. Thank you very much. Anyone got anything else? Thank you. Any comments from the public? That would you be Bill and Nancy, I think, and Neil. Go ahead, please, Nancy. You're on mute. Yep.
I'm not muted. Neil, that was an amazing, amazing presentation. It really made me excited to be a resident of Cornwall. And I'm so glad that you live on Scoville Road and are involved in our community the way you are. There's one other thing I was just going to mention. In the last meeting, I think, Simon, you mentioned that agriculture was probably the largest economic employer or driver of our economy here in Cornwall. And I would agree with that. Agriculture is a very visible, agribusiness is a very visible endeavor here in Cornwall. But when you mentioned today, someone did that there were about 160 or 70 small businesses in Cornwall, I was totally amazed. And I realized that someone has taken the time to put together what I call the invisible service sector here in Cornwall, which makes it possible for all of us to live in Cornwall. The painters, the plumbers, the bank tellers, the arborists, the landscapers, the driveway clearers, the
babysitters, the home care people. Yep.
But that is probably also a huge driver of our economy here in Cornwall.
Yeah.
So don't want to forget them.
And when you think of what percentage that must represent of the total population of Cornwall, it's actually a very significant statistic. I entirely agree. Thank you, Nancy.
And one other thing, don't forget that food trucks are marvelous ways at a gathering to feed people. They had one at the agricultural fair last year. There was a line the whole time. It was wonderful. I don't know how difficult it is to get food trucks, but it's another way to, present hospitality to the town.
I agree. And I also agree with your comment about Neil. Thank you. That again, I thought that was an extraordinary professional and insightful presentation. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Good. Anything else? I apologize. We've gone on for an hour and a half, but it was a good discussion. So thank you all. And I will get back to you, Duncan, with those details.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bianca,
Thank
wanna
you.
end this?
Yes, goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
All right. Good
Amen.
night.